Have you ever traveled through time? We do it every day.
Asgardia is a country with a population of more than 1 million people from more than 200 countries on Earth. Asgardia gives everyone equal opportunities, no matter what their earthly status is.
It is possible to create and live in the future right now. Are you ready? Forward progress is the solution to the entire human race. Our mission is to bridge new horizons. In Asgardia, there is no limit to the universal development in the fields of technology, finance, and arts. Asgardia is a new space and digital economy which creates opportunities for the global economy. We deliver innovations. Do you want to get on board with us? We are developing various kinds of digital businesses, attracting them to the Asgardia platform that can be backed by the means of our umbrella, i.e. franchising of the Asgardia brand. We can not only attract investments into space programs from prominent institutional investors, but also affordable amounts from the citizens of Asgardia. We comprise of more than 1 million people.
Asgardia is a chance to realize one's dream. This is a dream-driven space nation. Asgardia is a chance to belong to a community of free-thinking enthusiasts, goal-driven dreamers, and fearless innovators, theorists, and scientists.
We are the first space nation. One humanity, one unity.
Asgardia.
We are creating
the future.
In other places.
Well, hello, good to see
Hello.
you. Thanks very much
Oh.
indeed. I do believe that
Indeed.
we're probably live on air now. Let me just check. Yep, we're live now. So welcome world to Asgardia.
Your sound is perfect, Chairman Lambert.
It's because I have a good microphone and I'm in my studio. So this is a good time. Good time to have me. Though
Yeah.
I will have to give it 2 minutes while everyone else gets involved, and then we'll get going. So just 2 minutes, usually 5 past. Right, let's get going. I think that should be enough time. Welcome, everybody. Very nice glasses, Anna, by the way. They're fantastic. Welcome to the Asgardia Legislative Forum. My name's Len Batopic. I'm the Chair of Parliament of Asgardia. And we meet roughly once a month to talk about matters relating to Asgardia. Asgardia is the world's first fully functioning digital democracy. Nothing like it has existed before. It's very effective. Most importantly, it's designed to collectively achieve a future for human beings in space, peacefully and for all humankind. I was elected by the Parliament to serve the Parliament. I don't rule the Parliament, I serve it. I work for the Parliament. And we have these informal sessions. We don't have votes at these. They're not edited. So what you see is the reality as we perceive it, with hopefully some useful conversation. These meetings have become very efficient. Sometimes they're a bit longer than others. I guess we will have 90 minutes or so today. Maybe a little bit longer, but we can find out as we go into it. Sorry, I've got a very slight cold today, but it's very, very minor. And I'm just looking at the agenda. So if you are watching anywhere in the world, I have to stress this is really how it is. There's no game playing. We don't edit it. We don't stop the broadcast. It continues, and it's basically all about what you say and what we discuss, and hopefully that makes a difference to what we do in the future. Right, so let's go through the agenda. We might change the order just depending on what happens. I'd say the minimum which period of time probably be 45 minutes, maximum about 2 hours, I think. So we're opening the Asgardia Legislative Forum and we're reviewing the agenda. That's what we're doing now. Next is an open session for you. I'll talk about the meeting with the head of nation, which is coming up soon in Corfu, the Corfu Summit, very important annual occasion for Asgardia. What I'm looking for is a list of the things that you want me to cover, in addition to the things I will tell you about. Then I want to talk about the LifeShip project. It's possible that Culture Minister Cheryl Gallagher will join us for this. It's not guaranteed. I spoke to her during the week, and she might be able to do it if she's not too busy. But we'll find that out in a minute. After that, I've asked Michael Chirino if he's able to join us. He's actually in the woods at the moment. He's in the middle of nowhere, but he has a Starlink, which might mean he can join us. It'll be an interesting experiment. If he can't do it, he can't do it. But I really want to get clarity on what you want to do in terms of the legislative management system, because sometimes it gets very difficult because we have different versions and people don't know which one is the right one. So maybe we can have a conversation about that. The past system seems to be a very good one, but once again, it's an open conversation. Then the next digital sitting, I just want to remind you of the legislation which is currently under consideration, and I'm asking for any first reading proposals today, because when I go to see the head of nation, I want to propose to him the full content of the next digital sitting also. So if you do have a first reading proposal, then I will need to work that up with you into an actual specific piece of legislation. Obviously, the first reading proposals from the last one now need to be the full second reading, and then the second reading need to be the third reading. After that, future events, as always, we'll look at things that are coming up in the Asgardia calendar. And after that, any other business in the close. As I say, the minimum time realistically will be till 1400 UTC, really. The longest I would say is about 15 maybe. I don't expect this will be more than 2 hours. Right, any questions about the agenda? Okay, so let's go to the first one. And I welcome everyone to make their contributions to this. Here's the context. For those who don't know, every year, the head of nation has a Corfu summit, and there's a Supreme Space Council meeting also scheduled for that time. And that takes place in Corfu, and it's a 3-day event. It will be in the second week. Sorry, it'll be second week of the August month, roughly 12, 13, 14 August, roughly. That time will be when I get to see the head of nation. We have very high quality period of time to discuss things. And I raise things, and then he'll also raise things. The things that are already on the agenda, the Foreign Affairs Act, sorry, the Foreign Affairs Act, which will be, I won't say, that might help. The Foreign Affairs Act, which I've finally finished updating this morning, and I've shared it with Ferda and John and others. John, did you get your copy?
I haven't looked yet. Hold
Yeah,
on.
great. No, as long as you got it, if you got it, then everyone got it. That's the important thing. So that's been put into the system. It's the biggest piece of work I've had to do ever in terms of developing the document. But that's because it's so important. It wasn't really bad before, but a lot of people have put in. I also spoke to people outside Asgardia to get their perspective on it. All of that's really great because we've now got a really strong document. That we'll have a separate meeting about that, so I won't go into it today, but that will be on the agenda. So the Foreign Affairs Act will be on the agenda. The other 4 things I have is whether we'll have a physical sitting, and I believe that would be in Istanbul or Dubai. I think those would be the most likely options, just because in terms of visas and costs, those would be the best ones to go to. I think that we need to get some decision on that at this meeting in order to be able to make it possible to organize it in time. I would like to see a physical sitting because I think it creates a lot of momentum and a lot of energy between us as colleagues. And also that energy will last a whole year. So I'm recommending a physical sitting, but it won't be my say. So we'll see what happens there. Third or fourth things is the residency numbers, and I want to talk about the fact we need to really get tens of thousands of residents, and I have some proposals for the head of nation. I want to hear his. So that would be an important thing from my point of view, because getting the residency numbers up gives us equity, gives us turnover income. 100 euros per resident, 20,000 residents, that would be 2 million euros a year. We can start doing serious work with that, and colleagues here will start getting paid. That's an important thing too. And in that sense, I believe that we can find creative ways to really drive numbers. And we can learn lessons from previous events. For example, the what's now known as the Eclipse event in Dallas Eclipse event. We learn a lot from that. And we could have made it into a really big recruiting event, but some things didn't go right. And we can learn from that. But that's the third of the 4 things. And the fourth and the final thing I'd like to talk with about Head of Nation is events calendar. So if you've got events that you think we should be represented at, please tell me. And we can even discuss that a little bit now and also under item number 6, future events. Because if we go out there, if we wait for people to come to us, that's not as good as us going out and getting people to join us by reaching out. I think that's a really important element to what we're doing. So those are the 4 big areas. And then, of course, there's the 5th one, which I mentioned before, the agenda for the digital sitting, which will be taking place. Well, I'll confirm the date, but it'll be, I expect, at the end of September. That's when I expect to have it, the end of September, giving us the opportunity to have a physical sitting in November, if that's when we're going to have it. So that's what I've got. Those 4 things, well, 5 things, if you include the digital sitting, that's always going to be there. Remember, there's also going to be a Supreme Space Council meeting that will be chaired by the head of nation. That's very important, and it carries on the strategic decisions and everything that goes with that. So what else do you want me to raise there? This is open for everybody. Nothing. John, you're so far back from the television that your head's about the same size as Jupiter, or whatever that star is in the background there. No, you can sit there. It's okay. It's just amusing.
I'm trying to get comfortable here.
You can. I'm not asking you to. Jacob normally lies down in the meeting, so I wouldn't worry too much. So
I did get your email, by the way.
oh, that's good. You don't have to read it now.
I was reading it.
It's taken me many days to do that because I had so much feedback, and it's good feedback, but I had to include everything in it.
Yeah,
so
everything's looking great so far.
It's about twice as long as it was before. I had to learn definitions and look at the international.
It's a bit longer.
Yeah, I had to look at the internationally recognized definitions for digital diplomacy and those sorts of things, and that generate a framework for protocols as well. So hopefully it's all in there now. Right, but anyway, sorry, Ricky, sorry, John, I didn't mean to force you into talking. Ricky,
No, yeah, you're good.
I'm sure you'll come back anyway in a minute. So, Ricky.
Yeah, I just sent you a message in your email and sent it to the Parliament coordinator for your trip to the meeting of what I'd like you to cover.
All right, okay. Let me just check that I have this. 1 second. Right, let's check. Oh, I got it for the home. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can I read them out or not? Let me give a summary. Ricky's basically asking me to talk about promotion, financial matters, and and the promotion, financial matters, basically, and also the status of the Vienna office. That's fine. Yeah, okay. I will put those. You'll hear my printer going in a minute because I don't want to lose this. I want to print this out, so I will print this immediately. I've got a hard copy of it as well. Thank you. Print. Thank you very much. Other points you'd like me to raise with Head of Nation? Nothing else. Okay. Now John looks like he's asleep.
Yeah, I had some points to make, but I didn't know how to word them yet. So I'm trying to, you know, some time ago we talked about continental representatives, and if you could chat with the HON, because I never really got a conclusive answer on his ideals about continental representatives and whether, because I have all that information ready to move forward with. Yeah, it's just been sitting, waiting for a response back. So, and I never really got a conclusive response from the HON, whether a yes or a no. And really, that's all I'm looking for on the on my project that I had in our committee, I forget the project name now, but you caught me off guard because I didn't have anything ready.
Sorry, John. Well, I will come back to you in a minute, John, if you want.
Okay, yeah, I'll have that name in just a second.
No problem at all. Okay. Right, so I've got this printed off now. Thank you, Ricky. I'll come back to you, Ricky. This is great. I'll assimilate that into my notes. I'll need to talk to you about it as well. But Ricky, back to you.
Okay. Yeah. Also, too, ENR, Equity and Resources. The minister there was working on a project. Adriana brought it up last week, and we haven't heard anything from her on that for a long time. So, that could be a possible venue for us financially. Yeah. So that's something else that has to be looked into. know, between her and possibly the finance minister.
Yeah, that might be for us rather than Hon, but okay, I'll put that in. Well, hang on. When you say that, do you remember what the project was?
Yeah, it had to do with Second Life.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
And
An embassy there.
Yeah, and they had done a mock-up of the embassy and a small museum and stuff, but that's been months back.
Yeah.
And haven't heard anything since.
Okay. That is very good. It's a very good thing if you can, if you're able to, yeah, we could follow that up. That's a very good point. It's a very good point. I think it's a great idea because I think people who are involved in Second Life will also inherently be interested in what we're doing, which is very good, I would say. So, yeah, and also the embassy looked great. We're trying to get an embassy. Oh, yes, that's the other thing. I need to talk to Head of Nation about the embassy in Istanbul. Yeah, embassy in Istanbul. Right. So in terms of equity and resources, Jennifer Gligorich is the person you're speaking about. I can give her a call and see what she says. John, you're next.
Yes, that was the Above Space project, and now supposedly he's already received these materials, and I've also sent them to you. It was an actual proposal, Above Space proposal. So if you want me to resend that material to you, and you can talk to him, get a yes or a no.
Probably would be good to do that. Yeah, probably would be good to do that. Just do you want to tell the others here what your proposal is? It's an interesting thing.
Well, basically, it's launching the first. It's launching a sovereign territory into space that would be sovereign to Asgardia for a really good efficient price that you won't get any other kind of and this is comparison. It's comparable to having a module on the ISS space station. The module that I'm talking about, well, actually, it's much larger than the ISS module, and it's totally independent of the ISS, and it would be totally sovereign to the United States, and it after, and it comes in stages where you the first launch, you launch the first is zero gravity. The second launch, you can actually achieve spin gravity, which is almost about, it'll be about the same gravity as the moon, but and that can be achieved by the second launch of the station. The station is already, what they call it a station in the box, that it's already ready to go and ready to be deployed. It has all the latest proven space technologies on it that have been proven in space. The technologies that are on the station have been proven in space. The only thing that hadn't been proven in space is the station itself. But what it's made, how it's made, and everything has been proven in space. So this is like an upgrade of what we are currently using in space, and supposedly fully deployable within 30 months, which is what, 3 years, right, roughly. So 2 years is deployable, 2.5, almost 3 years. It takes to gather all that stuff together. You don't get it together and just right off the bat. They have to put everything into action once they negotiate terms and money and put the station in space. And then Asgardia would have an asset in space. an actual territory that's sovereign to Asgardia. They can be launched. This can be launched from any rocket anywhere in the United States. So it can be launched from Russia. It can be launched from United States, or sorry, it can be launched from Russia. It can be launched from the United States. It can be launched from China. It can be launched from Great Britain, wherever there's a launch platform that have rockets that have, because it'll fit into a standard fairing, size fairing, and it's basically it's they launch it, they eject it out of the fairing, and then it erects, and you have a space capable craft once it gets done erecting. Um, um, and then whatever loaded on that craft will be determined in the negotiations of what Asgardia wants. Because basically, what the ideal I had was creating an industrial park in space, because right now space doesn't have that, and there's a huge profit maker there to have an industrial park in space, and basically you could set this station up to do certain type of industrial actions, whether it be capture satellites and repair them, which there's probably more money in that than anything else, or launch CubeSats, or park a CubeSat park, or repair CubeSats, which probably not as much of a moneymaker is because CubeSats are relatively easy to launch as there are. But there's other areas that can make huge profits, especially now with this the new space era, new space race, and especially since ISS is due to be destroyed in around 2030, 2035. So, and there's a need for low Earth orbit assets like that. And there's a lot of low Earth orbit activities right now. So, but nobody has an asset in space that can actually do industrial stuff, and that would be really handy to have right there, ready-made, good to go. And Asgardia could be at the forefront of that. And the space industry has already surpassed like 300 billion annually, and it's supposed to be going even further than that. So that industry is not going away, and it's a big opportunity and moneymaker there. And so Above Space has partnered with me in working out a contract, and that's what I'm presenting to the HON, is this contract at a price that is affordable to the right people within Asgardia that may want to go forward, and not all of Asgardia, of course, not us. It's not within our budget, but I think it can. I think it's a price that can be managed within all of Asgardia, within maybe some of the like the HOM himself. He could actually probably personally finance it, or get friends of his to help finance it, or and the financing can be worked out in. It can actually be worked out in stages, and it doesn't have to. It's not like you have to pay everything up front, and so I think it's a great opportunity, a golden opportunity for us. A lot of the technology that goes into the station is proprietary, and I can't discuss that technology, but all I can tell you is nobody has that technology today but these people, but Above Space. It's unique technology that they have uniquely came up with, and it's actually way more advanced than anything else we've got going on up in space. But they can't make that known to the world. So they have made it. I've seen it, and I believe it. It's good, credible technology, and everybody, the above space team are all prior either worked for NASA or they worked for uh, uh, JPL or and they've had one of them is one of the top engineering scientists at JPL. He's one of the head people there, and so these are not willy nilly people. These are people that have actually been in the space industry. They got over 30 years or more in the space industry, so they know what they're doing, and they put together a great package. So I hope that the AHON will at least consider it, but I haven't heard anything. So, uh, and that's basically all I want is a yes, a no, a maybe. I didn't even have to come with an explanation, just a yes, no, or maybe. So that way I can take it off my schedule if they, if he doesn't want to do it, that's fine. But if he does, if he's interested, because when I talked to the HON in the last physical meeting we had, which was in Azerbaijan, uh, he said that he was open to new ideals. And I explained to him just briefly what it was about, and he said he was open to it, and said to send him a 2-page report. And so I put a 2-page report together and sent that on, and I've never got an answer back. And I would think the HON is the type of person that would give you an answer back if he specifically said to send him a 2-page report. And I never got an answer, a reply back from that report. So it would, I honestly not sure he got the report. And so that's one of the things I hope that you can talk to him about, take the report with you personally and see if he got it. Because he did specifically tell me to send him a 2-page report and that he was interested in looking at it. So at least, he showed interest at that meeting, at the Azerbaijan meeting. So, yeah. Anyway, and that's it. That's the project. I think it's a great project. I think it could certainly draw in. I think it certainly draw residents to Asgardia. It would certainly put Asgardia in the limelight. We would go from bottom of the space frontier to the top of the space frontier almost overnight if we got onto that bandwagon. And as far as the news and whatnot because that kind of information would definitely get out, and the company Above Space is definitely a nationally recognized company, and so the PR would be there. It would be a PR blessing to Asgardia as far as PR goes, but and it could very well propel us into a whole new era that and yeah, there's a lot of things that'll have to be worked out. Like, okay, yeah, you have an asset up in space, but now you got to get astronauts to them. But I don't think that would be that hard for the HON to get a couple of cosmonauts up there. We saw at the very beginning of Asgardia how he was able to get a cosmonaut to show the Asgardia flag and badge and whatnot. Who I think it was a fellow Asgardian. So, and I think he has connections there because he's worked with Russia directly. So, it probably wouldn't be all that hard to get a couple of cosmonauts up there. Astronauts might be a different story, but cosmonauts, no, I don't think that would be all that hard. And so to monitor the station or to man it, and figuring out, of course, you have to figure out what type of industry would you want to do in space. Well, and I think we have enough brains in this car. I wouldn't be one of them as far as that goes, but seeing the way everything is going on in space, I think we have enough brain power here that we can figure that out. Maybe not in Parliament, but certainly within the social group of the HON. He's got some very good advisors and ministers that that all are very capable and experts in their fields, and I'm sure they'll be able to figure that out. Especially our science minister; he is like one of the foremost experts in his field, and I'm certain that he could figure out what industry would bring us the most profit, how we would profit more. And according to Above Space, a projection that they did, just if we used it as a space park, if that's all we did, or as a park, a place for people to park their satellites or their CubeSats, that's it. Park their CubeSats. We would start seeing a profit after 30 months of having it in space. And so the station would more, and every year after that profit doubles and triples, and et cetera. So, within 5 years, we could be making 3 times more than what we put into the project. And that's steady income coming into Asgardia. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the project. So.
Thanks, John. I'll raise it with him, and I'll see. At the end of the day, the head of the nation is an executive head. He doesn't just sit there. He makes decisions. So I'll have an honest conversation with him. There's no problem with that. So I put that into the agenda. Now, let's go back. And thanks for explaining it so clearly. You make it sound pretty motivating the way you describe it. But you're always good that way. Ricky?
Now, when you say space park, you're talking about a secondary deployment facility, like when our first CubeSat satellite was sent up, it made a layover at the ISS before it was deployed out. Is that correct?
Yes. And it also could be a place like, let's say like the CubeSat that Asgardia had deployed, right? And it could come in, and let's say the repairs on that would just be minor to get it back into space. So let's say you could get it back into space for I don't know, $10,000, but to launch another one would cost you $50,000. Well, it would make sense if you had a customer like Asgardia for them to go ahead and let us repair the thing and launch it back into space, especially if you're going to get another 5 years out of it. But that's just some of the things that we went over when I just had meetings with Above. These are all possibilities, and they would certainly sit down with our experts and iron out those the areas that we would find the most beneficial to Asgardia. So, but you have to have that meeting first, and they have experts too, and they said they're willing to sit down with Asgardia and make those and help them make those decisions. And most of those people in Above Space are, again, in top of their field in the space industry. So they're definitely know what they're doing or what they're talking about. So and if anything, I think it would be a great conversation just to to have. But yeah, that's basically what we're talking about, Ricky. Thank you for that question. It's a great question.
Anything else for John before we move on? I'm going to ask if there's anything else you want me to add to the head of nation agenda.
Well, you already said the one thing was, of course, the embassy, and as a foreign affairs minister or foreign affairs member, I definitely and know how much time and effort that Ferda has put into that embassy, and she's got a great plan in place, and I think we should support her on that. So definitely that would be on the list. That needs to be on the list. And I think also it'd be, now that I've actually been to that part of the world,
Istanbul, you mean?
Istanbul, yes.
How could you forget?
I tell you, I'm having a brain cramp. So anyway, but now that I have been there, and seen how great it is there, and gotten over that particular fear. Because, you know, part of me did have a fear there of going there because of all the movies that I've seen of Istanbul. And that shows you how TV.
You mean Midnight Express?
Yeah, well, there was just so many, and they were all horrible. Man, they painted Istanbul as a horrible place to go. One of them was Taken, the movie Taken. So yeah, and
that was actually the original Taken was based in Paris.
Oh, okay. Well, it was like Taken 3, I think, or Taken 2, something like that. Yeah. It was the second or the third one. They actually go to Istanbul, but anyway, and it makes a fear. It puts a fear in you, and I'm willing to admit that I had that fear, but also I was being held up because the United States had them under a no-fly, but that's been lifted now. So, and Istanbul's totally clear as far as travel, and it's a great place. I loved it, except for the only thing I probably didn't like as much was the hotel room that somebody suggested to us. I don't know who that was, but
I was wondering if you'd mentioned that again.
I'm kidding.
I apologize. I got that wrong. I got that wrong. I thought it would be nice. It looked good in the pictures, so sorry about that, John.
It looked good in the pictures. Okay.
I was trying to save everyone money, but I didn't succeed. So sorry about that, John.
That was about me. The extra money.
But
but I did get a lot of exercise in that one. I'm going to tell you that. I mean, going up them really steep stairs, that was some great exercise.
If you want to take this line, then. And you were put off Istanbul by a film, then how about Escape from New York, where New York is a prison? What about all the earthquake films for San Francisco?
But
what about the Andromeda strain, which infects?
I know all that's fantasy as far as people that are from here. See, I'm not from them other places.
I bet you there are more films about the problems in the United States than there are in the UK, in Istanbul, about Istanbul. But anyway, I'm not going to try and detain you too much on that.
Those are the main things that I had, of course. And the Continental Rep. I mean, you know what that's about. You had made the suggestion that we create a Continental Rep, and I'm fully in agreement with that suggestion, but we never really got a clarification of whether or not that was going to go forward.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that the foreign affairs office there in Istanbul, which I'm totally supportive of, and of course the Above Space Initiative. Those are my three areas.
Thank you. All right, I've got all that down. Anything else before we move on? Okay, thank you. I'll put that together. And I'll be talking about this before. We've got two more Thursday meetings before I see the head of nation. That's helpful. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Let's move on. Now, the LifeShip project. I want to, one minute. I'm just going to get something which I want to show you. Please wait for 1 minute. I'll be right back. You'll be able to hear me, but I just have to get something to show you, which is to do with LifeShip. Right. Show you. I have here a LifeShip pack. And in it, it takes a swab and gives you essentially joining instructions to send a pod of you to the moon. I've filled this in for my family and I've sent it back. For me, this is exciting because literally we're sending a pod of cells to the moon. And this is the objective of Asgardia. The idea of having a part of us on the moon is the beginning of the fulfillment of our mission. Okay, we're not physically going up there with our consciousness, but I think there's something quite magical and actually quite inspirational about sending something up. I think it's still available. I do recommend it. It says DNA on the moon, 1 human on the back. It's not difficult. It's basically a swab, and it doesn't take very long.
Please, Chairman, let me keep the box for the screenshot. Wait. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, this is the box. And you have a unique identifier. It doesn't take long. Let me open it up. Inside you have a ticket and everything else, so you'll be invited to the launch. You have to pay to go to the launch, but you will be invited to the launch as well whenever that happens this year or early next year. We don't know exactly, but it's exciting. And my even my 3-year-old participated. She was very well behaved. She did the swab, and I was very pleased. It's up to you, but I think this is a great opportunity, and we have to thank Cheryl Gallagher for this. I think it's really great that she has negotiated a discount really for us and our involvement in the project. I think it's fantastic. So my advice is, it's up to you, but do please, if you feel inclined to do it, apply and do it through the Asgardia website. There's a small discount, and then you'll be able to send your DNA and your family's or your friends' DNA to the moon. That does not mean that 1,000 years from now there will be a new you. It does mean that you, your children, your family, your friends, and any descendants can point to the moon and say part of our family is up there. Sooner or later, I hope we'll be living there as conscious living beings. And maybe the discovery of caves on the moon is another step forward, because we could find an easy place to live. It might be a bit dark, but it should be safe. In the meantime, we can go up there and we can have our DNA on the moon. So that's my advice there. I spoke with Cheryl Gallagher during the week, and it's still available, we believe. But don't leave it too long, because it could be that they'll run out. Now, for those watching around the world who are not Asgardians, you can do it too. Go to LifeShip. LifeShip.com, I believe, is the name of the location. Let me say that for the record. I'll just check. Just checking the actual, let's see, the actual email address. I'm pretty sure it's lifeship.com. I won't be able to find it too quickly, but it's all in there. You also get a mission patch, which is quite exciting, which my children like very much. So that would be my recommendation. You don't have to do it. It's not obligatory. And I don't know what the profit they're making is, but I don't mind, because for me, yeah, lifeship.com/go or lifeship.com. But really, you should go to the Asgardia website, and then you can get your own pack. Now, I haven't really advertised it very much on the weekday meeting, but I'm very happy to answer further questions on this if you want. John.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it's also a DNA bank. If for some unforeseen reason the entire human race is wiped out, there will be a permanent DNA record on the moon that well, if we do have some survive that can go to the moon and use that DNA to try to, I guess, revive the human race. Or aliens themselves, if you believe in aliens, if they want to revive the human race. So this DNA is stored in such a way that it lasts thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, probably as long as the Earth has to live between the time when the sun finally does eliminate the Earth in the supernova, when it goes supernova, but or not when it becomes a red giant. But it doesn't go supernova; it becomes a red giant. But I was about to say some bad science right there. Our sun won't go supernova. It'll actually become a red giant. And when it does, it will destroy the Earth, Mars, and all the other outer planets or inner planets, excuse me. And so the outer planets will still survive, but the inner planets will perish in the expansion. But that happens like billions of years from now. So, and yeah, I think it's great. I got my own DNA kit right here. I keep it right where I can get to it. And I've already sent in, got my patch and everything. Yeah, I'm excited. Now, I do want to say that that since that launch for that is actually on a Starship or SpaceX Falcon 9, and Falcon 9's been like grounded temporarily, so there may be a temporary delay. Everything's going to get backed up. You know, they've got a huge launch schedule because SpaceX was launching, like making 10 launches a week or better, and so yeah, it'll everything will get backed up from there. So, but so that can be expected. It's not been announced or anything, but it can be expected. Yeah. Anyway, I hope that helped add a little bit there.
Thank you. Show us that. Hang on, you're showing it on the screen. Who's sharing? Oh, Ariadne is sharing. Yeah, that's good. You can see it's very professional, but I'd expect that. Very good. Thank you so much. So any questions about life ship before we move on? Okay. You don't have to do it. I just think it's a wasted opportunity if you do not. Now, the next one, Michael Chirino is in an inaccessible place. I'd like to talk with Michael Chirino when he's available. But let me tell you, he has got an internet system, which is to do with Starlink, but it might not be very easy for him to join us. The idea here is that I'm hoping that we can improve the consistency with which we manage various versions of documents. And the reason I say that is because sometimes it gets quite confusing when we've got different versions and different people have the different versions. And then I have found myself working on the wrong one sometimes. The truth is that the Foreign Affairs Act, which has taken me a lot of time, showed me how absolutely centrally important it is to use the same version all the time. I created myself extra work by working on the wrong version for a while. I had to do everything on the right version. That's okay, and I have now done it. I corrected my mistake. My request, my advice is that we use the pass system as the version that we think is best. That's Michael Chirino's version. And the reason I say that is because his version seems to be very popular. Now, we haven't formally adopted it, but I think we should. If people are agreeable, I haven't added this on yet, but I'd like to recommend to Head of Nation that we use the pass system. Now, I've got 3 questions for the colleagues. Has anyone used the pass system? If so, can they describe what it's like? And then the third one is an open debate for everybody else. So let's start with John.
Yes, I have used it. It works very well when you can get into it. Unfortunately, and well, while you're in there, it loads everything up, and usually what you're loading up is a Google document that's done on Google Docs, or you can load Word in there as well. There's several different ways you can load a document in there, but it keeps that document in there until the author of that particular act goes in and updates the document. So the author still has to keep everything updated. So Uh, for instance, let's say like the ACE Act, it would have been my responsibility as the chair to go in there and keep the current copy of the ACE Act, whatever the most current copy is, in there, and then people would just have to trust that that's the most current copy. The problem, of course, is that either it's because it's being maintenance is being done, because normally when you go in, like right now, I can't get into it. It says that there's an error in the in something preventing it. And normally what I'll do is I'll let Michael know, and he will reset my password and reset everything. And then normally I can go back in there, but this has happened like 5 or 6 times already, and it doesn't seem to want to maintain a person's password presence. And I don't know if that's because Michael goes in and does maintenance updates or whatever. I don't know. We don't know really the reason why, and so that people have a hard time getting into it. And I think that's pretty much the biggest complaint of the system. People like the system, but they don't have. And I think what I would suggest is there needs to be more access to the system, as far as repairing it or reestablishing a password or something. In other words, to gain access to that, there needs to be more access other than just Michael Torino. I know he's the author, but sometimes we can't get a hold of him. But it should be a team of people, and those, of course, need to be somebody high up in the hierarchy, and so that it doesn't, you don't lose that situational awareness of the site itself, but and the security of the site. But all the documents usually are that load in there are Google Docs. That's what I use. I use the Google Docs. Seems to load the best and update the best. I have to take it and transfer it over into the Google Doc, and then I make a link, and then attach that link to the pass system. And you can go in there and make updates, but certain updates are only made by the people who are able to make those updates. In other words, if say like Justice Department wants to do a justice update, they can go in there and do that. I can't do their part. They the only ones can do their part. So, and I like the system. I think it's a great start, a great platform. It just like right now I don't have access to it, and I've got stuff that I actually need to put in there and update, and I can't. So, and I had held off emailing Michael because we were having this meeting today. I was kind of hoping that he was going to be here, and then that would be discussed. But I'll probably send that email out today, just to have him know that I don't have access right now. And but yeah, it's a great system. I think once that we get it to where it's dependable, it's actually less dependable than the Asgardia website is, as far as getting into it. The Asgardia website never have a problem with your password. I have to, every time I go onto that website, and I have to log in if I want to see my profile. And same thing with Pass System, you have to log in. And every time you log in, when he first resets it, everything works fine. But you give it some time, and then it quits working. And I don't know why that is. There's really never been an explanation as to why it is. But, and I was kind of hoping that would come out in here as well. Why it'll go from being where it works and where it don't work. But, and that's one of the biggest problems we have with it. It's just that you can't get into it. And a lot of a lot. He sent out links for a lot of the new Parliament members that had been in part. They came into our second term, and they weren't able to get in, a lot of them, and they were just, it gets frustrating because when you just want to punch in your password and that's it. You want to do that. I mean, even if there's a two-step verification, that's fine, but you can't even get it past that. You put in your password and then it comes up with this big old error block, and it's some kind of computer language, and I don't understand it because I'm not a computer nut. But if I was somebody that knew computers and knew the language, like Ben or somebody like that, yeah, I would know what it's saying there, but I don't. But normally I'll just freeze it, frame it, and take a picture of it and send that to Michael and say, this is what it's doing. And because he knows how to fix all that stuff. But yeah. But it's a great system. It works good. I don't have a complaint there. It's just, as far as when you're in it, it's just getting in it. That's the problem.
Thanks, John. I've sent Michael a message while we've been talking. He said he might not be very available because he's in the woods. He does have his Starlink, but it might not work very well where he is. So if he does respond, we'll get him to join today. Otherwise, I've asked him if he can join us next Thursday to have a full and frank conversation about this. So next Thursday, if we can't do it today, we'll do it next Thursday. One way or the other, we will get this resolved. It won't be a problem. I do get the sense you like Pass if it was accessible, John. Yeah. Okay, let's hear what Ariadne has to say. Hi.
Hi, thank you very much. Well, regarding the security, I remember when Jennifer Gligoric structured some place for documents also. I don't know, I don't remember the link. And I don't know if the link exists yet. And the other thing, a week ago, TJ and me wants to enter to the PASS system. And the advisors, you can, for issues that we don't understand. And TJ sent a letter to Michael Chirino with the request why we can enter there. I don't know if he has a reply. She has a reply from him. I don't know really. But sometimes I think why some people that appears in the parliament structure some kind of systems, and when they go by here, we don't know what's happened with that systems that they building for us. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Ariadne. I'm not really in a position to answer, but I think what we should get is Michael Chirino to join us next Thursday to talk about the details of what you're asking. I'm sure that there are simple answers to these questions. Maybe colleagues here have the answers, but let's carry on. Ricky, you're next, and then Ria.
Yeah. Yeah, the system's good. It's just getting into it. Another issue was, like, I primarily use my mobile, and it won't access through Android. And so that's another thing. The system, you should be able to access the system over multiple platforms, whether it be Explorer or Android, Linux, or anything like that. So that's the only issue that I really have with it is that type of accessibility, because I'm not always with a laptop or a desktop computer and such, because of where I am primarily. Mobile's much more convenient to use a lot of time. So other than that, I mean, it's a good system. It does what it's supposed to do. Once you're able to get into it, you don't have to worry about someone going in and changing your document without you knowing it and finding out later on, which is issues that we've had in Google Docs. So, yeah, that's all I got to say on it.
Thank you. Ria, I think there's a common theme here. Ria, what do you think?
Hi, good day, everybody.
Hi.
I'm traveling, so no video today. Basically, Ben has been talking about writing a document management system, a full-blown one, managing the documents, editing the documents, keeping it safe with all the legal efforts that needs to be done to it. I think if we're not going to get the PAS system working, we can maybe talk to Ben to maybe make the thing that he started a reality for us, and then we as Parliament can use the system properly.
Okay, so has he talked to Michael Torino about this?
That I don't know. I mean, he's minister, but I don't know if he spoke to him directly. But I'm part of some of the projects he works with. That's why I know what he are busy with.
Right. Okay. I'm just wondering if an action step here. Can I ask Aliona to put this down? I'll send a note to Michael Torino and also to Ben. No, Ben. PAS and doc management system. I don't mind which system it is, as long as we have one system. And if PAS nearly works, I'm quite keen on it being used, but we don't have to use that one.
Yes, I totally agree. Sorry for for interrupting you.
No, not at all.
I'm just concerned that we are waiting until next Thursday for Michael to come and talk to us about the PAF and so on. And currently everything's at a standstill. There's no proper guidelines of if the PAF system is not working, what should we do? Maybe the Parliament members that has been in Parliament from the beginning does not have that issue, but people that has joined recently does not know how it worked in the past. So I just don't want stuff to stand still.
The thing is that John's been here from the beginning and he's got issues with it. So I don't think it's just lack of experience. I think actually the problem is there's some issue with it at the moment. But John, you're next anyway, so you tell me.
Yeah, I think it is an issue. I think maybe Ben and Michael could trade notes, because like the Asgardia.spate or Asgardia.trade website, access to that as far as signing in and all that, it works like a dream. I've never had a trouble signing into that account, and sometimes I'll go a year, before I sign back into that account. I don't want to sign in all the time over and over, but the same thing with the PAS system. I only sign in when I need to. But if say 30 days, 60 days transpires from signing in and out of the PAS system, the next time I try to sign in, it won't let me. And it's always some computer error. An error that's done in computer code that I don't understand. It's like error code number such and such, such and such. I don't understand that. And I know it's not my system, because I have probably one of the most state-of-the-art computers, but and I don't have a problem signing into other systems. I sign into a lot of platforms in and out on a daily basis, especially going to college. signing in and out of their the online college platforms, which are highly secured as well. So, and I don't have a problem with any of those. But I do have a problem with pass. So I don't think it's me. I don't think it's operator error. But I will say that the Ria did make a point there that there's never really been an official process established of what happens. It even has where you can go in and it says it has a where you go in the pass system, it says password not working, you can or forgot your password, and you go in there and forgot password, and then it does nothing. You hit the forgot password thing, and it doesn't do anything. It just it goes to a blank window. At least that's what it does on my end. And the only way that I can get my password reset is to email Michael. And that's been the process, just email Michael. But it needs to be more than that. It needs to be a more professional process rather than just something AI that automated that can just fix the problem like right as soon as it happens, rather than have to wait to for Michael to find a place to answer the email. It might be weeks, and in the meantime, the work that we need to do, we're just sitting there with our thumbs in the air trying to figure out what do we do next. Now, I developed workarounds because the Constitution gives me that ability. Because the Constitution never mentions the past, but it does mention a process of how legislation is supposed to be distributed. Not only the Constitution, but the Act on Acts and the Government Act and all them other acts that were passed. They have a process that you go through. And ours is simple, relatively simple. Our process is, see, I get that same notice.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And that's the notice I'm getting. See, so why does that happen? But our process is simple. All we got to do is now what I do is, like, for instance, you just emailed me the Foreign Affairs Act. Now, if I was the Foreign Affairs chairman, I would take that act that you just emailed and I would establish an entirely new file off that, right? Not go off my old one. I would establish an entirely new file off of that act, off of what you sent. That way, and that's the way I do it, so I keep up, so that I can keep up with the different editions. So when I get an edition, or when I get somebody sends me and I make a correction, or whether instead of just working on the original document, I establish an entire new file with an entire new date, right? And I date all my files, so that when you see that file, you know that file was done. Let's say if I did one today at 7/27, that's the date I'll put on the file, and you'll know that file was done that day, and that is the most original copy that I have. All right, and that's what I do to try to keep up with all the versions, and within my committee. But and then that way I don't lose that. I don't lose that chain of evidence, or whatever you want to call it, the order of the document itself. And I don't send you an improper document. I send you the actual last document. Okay. And then all we got to do is we got to contact Justice Department, get their blessing. We got to contact our minister, and we got to contact you. That's the 3 stages that, and that needs to be done by the chairman of the committee, or the individual who is actually sponsoring the act, either the committee that's sponsoring the act, or the person. They have to contact the Justice Department, you, and the minister of their committee of that pertains to that particular act. And that's the whole process. And so when I like, I'm going to start working on the last act that I have to try to get passed through Parliament before we get to before we have new elections. Once I get that done, and I'm going to getting the research and all that together and all that, and putting that into a viable document, I will send a copy to you. And I'll have the Justice Department on that copy, and I'll have my minister on that copy. And and whether the pass system's working or not, that's what I'll do. And then I'll get copies back. And when I get a copy from you, that document that I get back from you is now going to become the new document for that act, right? It'll get transferred. I will revamp it as a new file in my system, and then that'll now be the new piece that I'm working on. If I get something back from the Justice Department, again, same thing. And then I will share that with the other 3 areas, minister, you, etc. Whoever sends back something. So if my minister sends back something, I share that with everybody that I copied on that email to keep that so that you don't lose control of the document. And I do believe that the chair, if it's a committee document, I believe the chair is the only person that should be making corrections on that document. Now, if it's an individual, nobody but the sponsor of that act should be making any and that's by our parliament procedures that you laid out. That the only person that's authorized to make changes on that until it like gets its first reading, because once it gets a first reading and passes, then it becomes part of the government, right? But until that time, the sponsor should maintain authority on that act until that time. But even then, the sponsor should always be in the loop of any changes being made. And Ricky talked about changes being made that they didn't even know about. They don't even know who made the changes, and there shouldn't be instances like that. That should never happen. And I've never had that problem myself, because I've kept a close, tight knit on all documents going in and out of trade and commerce. But that's just committee documents. There have actually been people try to establish acts that pertain to trade and commerce that did not go through the committee, and of course, some of those got sent to you, some of them didn't, some of them never, but generally they don't see the light of day because they don't follow the processes that it's been established by the Constitution. So, and I think that's more important. Even if we don't have a pass system, following those processes should be the most important thing. And the pass system needs to follow those processes as well, or whether that be a system that Ben can come up with or Michael can come up with. I will say that Asgardia.trade, as far as access to Asgardia.trade, it works much better. And as far as if you have a problem in Asgardia.trade, you can go in there and Ben has a part where you can go in and ask a question or whatever, and it'll show you, okay, you're having this problem, you can look at this, look at this. He's had documents that were, and you don't need a password to get into that part of it, right? To figure out how to fix a problem if you're having a problem. Ben's is more like a website, whereas Michael's is more like an immediate access into a system without the website. And I think it needs that website element that can be accessed without logging in.
We're going
that
to
has that has those documents in there. It tells a person, okay, if you have this problem, you can go, you do this. Information sheets, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I get the point you're making. We're getting into more detail than we should, because we really should have Michael Torino here. Just checking. I don't think he's able to make the connection today. Literally just don't think he can do it. But let's go to Ria, and then probably what I'd like to suggest, well, I know it's waiting, but it's only waiting 4 days, 5 days from today till Thursday. I'll send him a message as an action step. I'll send him a message. Also about what Ria said about Ben. Okay, Ria.
Hi. Okay. So I listened to what John said now, and like you said, John was here from the beginning, so he knows how to get stuff done. I am in the Equity and Resources Committee, which is a very quiet and small committee. We started with 2 acts. The first step is the core principles. So we set up core principles, and we emailed it to Lambert, to Chairman of Justice, and to my minister. And I haven't heard anything back. See, that's what I'm talking about, standing still. I don't know. I don't want to email everybody, and I don't want to email every day to get an answer. But the thing is, look at the core principles, tell me, okay, we are not interested in this now, we're going to do it at a later stage, or yes, that is fine, let's work on this. I need there should be a system, even if it's a manual one, that we can just get the process going, that like me, don't know what's going on.
No, that's a fair point. That's why the reason this happens is because I feel that we don't have an absolutely rock solid system, and I think that causes trouble. You know, it's frustrating for you as well, and I get that. I need to be more. I need to be able to respond easily, and like the Foreign Affairs Act, which has taken 2 weeks actually to do because it's so complicated. I need to now make sure we're all using the same version. With your core principles, which are important, by the way, we need to get. I was going to cover that on the next item. I think it's the next item. You don't need to. You shouldn't have to keep nagging. You shouldn't keep having to ask. And I get that point. It's perfectly valid. I just think the action step with your particular piece of legislation. Let's talk about that on the next item in a moment. In terms of the big picture here, I think that I need to write a note to Michael Torino and Ben saying, can we just make sure we have a definitive system? I feel that people like the past system, but it's difficult to get into. And if we could have easy access, then we wouldn't have this problem. So the action step will be, I'll write to Michael Torino and Ben, and ask them to have a conversation, and then see if we could get, just to put a full stop on it, a resolution on Thursday. Separately, in the next item, let's talk about your core principles document. I'd like to include this in the next agenda. Is there anything else that we need to cover in terms of legislative management system? So I'll write to Torino and Ben and see what they come up with, and then hopefully we'll get a report back next Thursday. I want to get this resolved before I go to Corfu. Okay, thank you. Thanks. An honest conversation, which leads us to the next item. I'm not going to have a break because I think we've probably got about half an hour left, as I thought 2 hours. Let's start where we've just finished it. First of all, where are we in the agenda? We've opened the session. We talked about the meeting with Head of Nation, the Life at Ship project, and the legislative management system. Now, the second last item, major item, the next digital sitting. Now, I'm looking for some first readings. Everybody who's got items in the system needs to make sure they're ready. I'll send a note to everybody I need all of your next readings ready so I can present them to the head of nation. And I'll need them by Wednesday next week. I'll send a message to everybody who's on the agenda because I need to present these to head of nation. I'll be seeing them personally. Now, Ria, do you want to tell us more about the one that's not, that I've been delaying, which I think should be in the next digital sitting, for which I apologise, just to remind people.
Thank you for putting me on the spot. I did not prepare.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to. You can just tell them the title. That's all.
No, okay. So it's for the copyright, and I think what's the other one? No, I can't remember my own.
I can find them.
Okay, you can find them. Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, here we go. Right. Just looking it up. Wrong account. Dell. Unable to access the pass system. There we are. There's copyright, and the other one was contracts. Contracts Act.
Yes, it's the Copyright and the Contracts Act.
Yeah.
Copyright, I feel, is important because we are our logo that's been used. We've got a few projects that has just been finalized or that has been done, events, which this has been a little bit of an issue. And I think if it's just stated in law, it can just be clearer to everybody and handled better in the future, I think. And the Contracts Act is, for me, important because, I mean, we do contracts every day, and with getting businesses into Asgardia, getting the economy going, there's going to be contracts written up. So we need to start somewhere on that side as well. And that's my reason for these two acts.
I want to put them both in. I'll have a look tomorrow and send you a response. I think that the copyright one's really important because we need to protect intellectual property. The contracts one I don't know so much about, but I know that your core principles, and I'm looking at it now, they cover often, basically they put all the key stages for a mutual contract. And that, just one thought, that can work within Asgardia and between someone in Asgardia and externally. I think that's a helpful point. That's actually slightly relevant to what the Foreign Affairs Act says. John.
Well, she mentioned copyright, and then the Digital Property Act that passed, and I don't think it has been made a decree yet. We're just waiting for it to be made a decree. It mentions copyrights in that act. So I was just curious if this was an amendment to that act, or does it establish an entirely new law type of copyright process? Because and does it also incorporate what's already written in the Digital Property Act as well, if it is establishing a new process?
Maria?
This is an extension of the Digital Property Act. I did look at the Digital Property Acts, but this is to extend it to focus more on the copyright thing, not the whole area. So yes, it's an extension.
Okay.
I think it's a good piece because it protects intellectual property. We have a bunch of very smart people in Asgardia. I think it's right for us to protect our interest. Particularly, just fundamentally, because we have smart people who don't want to work for free. Why would you want to work for free? And so, in that sense, I think we have a good reason to to introduce as his first reading, but let's try it. I'll put this in front of the head of nation, see what he thinks, together with the the copyright and contract act. They're not the same, but they're both related to protecting rights, and I think that they're good. And also because really the first thing we have to do is get our business, our economy turning over. We'll have no problem getting people in if they can get rich in Asgardia. That's just the truth. So I think that it's perfectly legitimate to do this. Anybody else on new legend? So basically my action step is I'll go through those. I won't be able to do it today, but I can tomorrow. And then I'm just looking at the format and everything else and send them for Ria's approval. Ria should not have to have asked me, but I'm honest about that. And if we had a proper pass system, she wouldn't be asking me. Well, if we had a proper system, which was absolutely one size fits all, where on this occasion, I think that would be a good thing. Then we wouldn't have this problem. Does anybody else want to propose any first reading legislation? Remember, I'll write it to all of you to get your next readings ready. But if you have any first reading legislation you want me to propose to Head of Nation, now is a good time to do it, because I'll be able to present it to him. All right, thank you. Let's look at future events. Now, there are a number of future events which I hope will happen. The obvious one is the Corfu Summit and the SSC. They're happening in the second week of August. In addition to that, I hope that there'll be a physical sitting at the end of the year, but I will have to find out. I'll come to you in a minute, John. I'll find out about that. Then thirdly, there's the launch of LifeShip, which will either be this year or next year. I don't know when exactly it is. It has never been confirmed exactly when that launch takes place. I'd like to attend that, but many other people will as well. I think that would be a good opportunity for us, and that'll be from the United States. Then we have the digital events like the Year Day and so on. But I want to know if there are other physical events which you think we should attend, John.
Well, no, LifeShip's definitely one of them I want to go to. I wouldn't mind. It's been so long since we've actually had a actual Parliament session, full Parliament and government session. It'd be really nice to do that if we can pull it off as far as our budget goes. Although I don't. I'm only limited to like one big event a year, so I've used up some of that time frame with the Texas event, the Eclipse event, and so I'm only going to have enough time to go to one more major event, which would probably be the Florida event. So I don't think I'd have, unless they schedule the Parliament event on a weekend, which they and not burn up weekdays, because like I said, I do work a full-time job and they only allot me certain vacation days, and I have to stay within that limit. I have no other option, or I lose my job. So, and I don't want to do that, because 4 more years I retire from that job and get that retirement, and I don't want to spend all that time I've spent there and lose that retirement. But I did want to make a correction on the what I just said. The decree has been submitted, or has been declared on the Digital Property Act. So it's decree number 80. It was done on the 8th of this month. And I wasn't aware of that. It didn't get announced or it might have got announced on Slack, but I missed it. I have been busy with college, so I kind of missed a few things. But I think it'd be great to have an event. Generally, when we have an event like that, it boosts our residents in Asgardia. So Usually after any major event that we get more resonance. So
yeah, you're quite right.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to just have a physical sitting because it's very motivating, and it causes colleagues to bond, and we get 2 years worth of energy from it. 2 years worth. I'll see what the donation says. It's ultimately his call. I hope that we'll be able to have that meeting, but let's just see what they say, what he says, and I'll be able to meet him and talk to him about this. So we should have an answer in the next 4 weeks, and that will give John enough time to book accordingly, I hope. And
yeah, well, personally, watching the updates that I've been getting from NASA, I don't think that LifeShip is going to launch in later this year. I think that'll get rescheduled to next year, 2025, because already actually one project that NASA had spent billions of dollars on has just been canceled, and that was their lander, the rover that they put all this expensive science equipment on. They've actually canceled that. Now they're just going to put a brick basically on the moon because they have a contract with the company to actually land on the moon, so they have to do that, and they're going to put this box that's going to do some monitoring. That's it. That's all it's going to do. They had this really nice rover that could do all these great things, and they canceled that due to budgeting, future budgeting, and also due to the delay. Now the delays that the Falcon 9 is causing, and already that has gone into a month of delays, and it looks like maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months of delays. And if that's the case, every project that was lined up before or after, that's lined up to go to the moon is going to be delayed. And so we were scheduled in October, November timeframe, and you back that up a couple of months, and you're into the 2025. So logic tells me that we probably won't launch at the end of this year. We'll probably launch around March of next year. And looking at what everything is going on with NASA right now is because we are launching from a Falcon 9, and right now Falcon 9's been grounded. So yeah. But,
yeah, that's an issue. That's an issue.
Yeah, and so it would not. I will have plenty of leave time to go to one major event, and I don't think that event's going to be LifeShip. So yeah, I would love to, like Istanbul. That would be great. Or you mentioned Dubai. I've been to Dubai. Dubai is a beautiful city. I've been there before, and it's just absolutely gorgeous city. But Istanbul's gorgeous too. So, I had a really nice experience in Istanbul, and especially since Istanbul may be our very first embassy established there.
Yeah.
That might be a plus, and I honestly like to see that go through, because Ferda has really worked really hard in trying to establish an embassy. So, yeah.
Breaking news. Michael Chirino is just about to join us, so we can continue that discussion. I want to go back and do it. It's a good day to do it. He's just sent me a message. So just while we're waiting for Michael, I really want us to meet. I think it's really important. I've met many of you from traveling and so forth, but I really want us all to meet. It is so motivating. We've seen this before. Apparently, according to Ria, the Falcon 9 grounding has been lifted. I still think that probably John's right. It'll probably still be delayed to next year, but I don't know that. I don't know. We can ask Cheryl. I don't really mind if it's this year or next year, as long as it happens. Basically, that's the important thing.
Somebody mentioned that Falcon 9 just flew this morning, so evidently they might have lifted the order. So the last update I got, which was a couple of days ago, they hadn't lifted it yet. So who knows? It could
All
still
right.
happen, but it's still going to be a backlog, I think,
There will be,
because
but
they had
I
delays
don't,
on those.
I don't mind. I'm not going to book a flight until I know, and I don't mind if it's this year or next year. The main thing is that it happens. That's what matters. Before we go back to Michael Tarina, who's joined us now, which is great. Is there anything else? Are there any other events you want to raise? Any other events? Okay, thanks. Let's therefore go back to Michael and talk a little bit more about the pass system. And we may need to repeat a little bit of what was said, but that's fine. That's not a problem. Michael, welcome. I understand you're in the forest, like the deer hunter.
I am deep in the woods at the moment, yes.
That's a beautiful place. Is that your place?
No, it's a summer camp that I volunteer at.
It's fantastic. And this is with
Yeah.
Starlink. So you are using space to contact us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We have no fiber, no copper. There's no city utilities out here, no water, no gas, no phone lines. So
It sounds like where London is and the UK is heading. Great to see you. For those who are watching around the world, Michael Tarina is the inventor of the pass system we discussed before. And the pass system is the system which I'm hoping we will adopt to regularize the way that we manage documents. As John Fine explained before, there's one gatekeeper and means we don't have 10 different versions going around. I think we should start though, John, if you want to explain your experience to Michael, and then we can start. That's a good place to start. I think this conversation will take 20 minutes or so, 25, but I think it's worth doing because we don't have to do it next Thursday then. And just to say, Ria also may have something to contribute. But John, do you want to get going and just tell Michael what you were saying to me about the system, which I like. I'd like to use pass, but I'm in your hands. Michael, John.
Yes, well, of course, I like using the pass system when it's accessible, but one of the biggest problems that we have, that I've had, even me, is that if I haven't used it in a while, I get an error message of, and eventually I'll email you and you'll reset everything, and then it'll start working again. And it's not because my password, it's because it just it'll actually go through the password like it's accepting the password. It just comes up with this big error message. It's in computer language that I don't understand. And Ariana, she shared it on screen there earlier, but the biggest problem I think everybody has is access, and also knowing what to do when they have a problem. For instance, let's say Asgardia.trade, which is the site that for Trade and Commerce Ministry, and it has access not only to login access to that site, but it also has a unlogin access to that site. And in the unlogin access, it goes over, like, if you have a problem, this is what you do, and it has information in there what to do next and how to do it, and et cetera, et cetera. That's the error message that I'm getting now. I'm getting that exact same message, software error message, but anyway, and so we were part of the discussion, said, why don't it'd be nice if pass had access both a non-login access, and as well as just to information, so people know what to do next and whatever, if they're having a problem. And then, of course, more accessible for the login access, because, like, if I go any length of time, I will get those error messages. And normally I'll just email you, and then you'll you'll email me back and reset everything, tell me it's reset, and then it'll start working again. But it's I think why does that why is that happening every time? Is there updates being made? Is it that causes that? What nobody really knows why that's happening, and some people have not been able to get in it at all, and they really don't know what to do. And a lot of the new Parliament members have still not accessed PASS, and they've tried to get into and they couldn't. So, but I think the main thing was just make it more accessible somehow. I love the system when I'm using it. And I love everything, the way it's set up, how you grab documents, you put them documents in, all that works fine. Everything, when you're in the system, it works great. There's nothing actually wrong with the PASS system itself. It's just getting into it. That seems to be the biggest problem.
I hear you. It's definitely not a perfect system. The presence of some information, instructional information, and helpful information that's accessible without having to log in is a great idea. We could have some landing pages that don't require login to access with non-sensitive information on it that could be helpful to users. That's an excellent idea. And the issues people have with login, whether it's forgotten password or encryption issues or whatever, really would all be solved by integrating this with our Google credentials, which we already use for all of our Asgardia, a significant portion of our Asgardian infrastructure. So ultimately, I would like to move away from doing our own encryption and password storage and just use OAuth 2 and integrate this with our Google ID. I'm going to need some assistance, possibly from Ben or somebody, to help get that done. But if we can make that happen, that would solve those two main issues you talked about. The third issue, really, which is a larger issue, and this doesn't just apply to PASS, is that there's a lot of people advocating for us to host our own systems instead of Slack, instead of Google Drive. And the problem with all of those ideas is that supporting 200 users across global time zones is extremely challenging. Even if I respond within 12 hours, that doesn't really help someone in Germany who was working on something on Thursday night and wants to continue working on it. By the time I respond in my morning, they've already moved on to their next day. And yeah, they could, they'll get my email that the problem's been fixed, and eventually they'll get back to what they were doing. But obviously it's more helpful for people if they can get more real-time support. And that being said, companies like Google don't offer human beings to help you if you run into a problem. They have fairly extensive support processes, but even those won't work if you've lost your phone and you have two-factor authentication enabled. So, I've had issues with Amazon and Google where you can't really get support from anyone to get in, even though you're ostensibly paying for those services. So there's ups and downs to everything. And my biggest issue with PASS is I'm unable to provide the kind of support that I would like for our user base. And if our user base grows, the good thing is that the direction PASS is heading, to have a few gatekeepers, will mean a much smaller user base that needs support. And if we integrate this with Google, for the most part, people will have their Google credentials sorted out because they'll already need to be able to get to their email, Gmail and Google Drive. And so they should be able to get into PASS if their Google account is unlocked and everything. But I will make note of those suggestions, a help page that we can get to without logging in. I'll take a look at those encryption issues that Ariadne just showed on her screen there. It looks like maybe the encryption library that Pearl is using got updated, maybe with an OS update. So I'll take a look at that and hopefully get you guys back in service as quickly as possible here. But I appreciate the input. Thank you for that.
Ria, Sorry, Ricky, and then Ria. Ria might want to make a comment as well. Ricky?
Yeah. Now, if we go with the our Google ID, would that take care of the issue of Pass not being able to work on an Android system? Then, let's say if you're on
Well,
your mobile and you want to get into to check on a document that you're working on. So,
that should work now. I mean, if you can get in on a PC, you should be able to get in on Android, depending on what browser you're using. If you have Chrome or DuckDuckGo or on your Android device, those should theoretically be able to load the page. I don't know how Safari would do, and there's some other browsers. If you're using the embedded browser within, um, like the Samsung browser, I don't know about those. But if you load Chrome or Firefox onto your Android or DuckDuckGo, those are third-party browsers that are not built into the phone, and that might be the issue some people are having. If you click on a link natively, iPhone will use Safari. I know my Android will use my Samsung browser, and those are fine for certain websites, but they're not great for websites where I need to log in. If I'm trying to log in and get my medical results, or if I'm trying to log in and anything that requires login with session handling, the built-in browsers on Android and iPhone are not awesome. I would definitely recommend Chrome or Firefox or DuckDuckGo for that kind of thing. Um, but once you log in, the website is responsive, meaning it should resize itself to a mobile screen, and the menus should become hamburger menus, or the three lines or the three dots,
right, right.
that kind of thing should happen automatically. And you can see that on your PC. If you resize the pass window to a mobile phone size, the menus should change and look the way that they should look on a mobile phone. But definitely there could be browser compatibility issues. Um, and Pass was meant to solve a problem that we had many years ago. Technology is always changing, and it's reasonable to suggest that the technology behind it could be updated to make it more portable. Um, 5, 6 years in computer world is a lifetime. So the technology that underpins the look and feel of the Pass system could almost certainly stand to be upgraded and refreshed. So I can definitely take a look at that as well and see what kind of effort that would entail.
Ricky?
Thank you.
For sure. Thank you.
Ria, do you want to say anything?
Thank you, Limbert. Yeah, basically, Michael, what's the best way to get hold of you? Because I emailed you that software error about 3 weeks ago, I think, when I tried to upload my stuff to Pass. And if you need us help with support on the Pass system, please let me know. That's what I do for a living, so maybe I can help you with that.
Yeah, for sure. Since June 1st, I've been in the middle of nowhere, and my Asgardia email does not come through on the phone that works where I am. I have a Verizon phone for my personal and Asgardia, and I have an AT&T phone for my day job, and only the AT&T phone works where I am right now. So I haven't gotten my Asgardia emails in several weeks, but I am on WhatsApp, and that's probably the best way to get a message to me if I'm not responding to email for some reason. So between June and August every year, June 1st and August 1st, I'm out here in the woods working at this summer camp. But I'm usually more responsive when I'm back in Las Vegas and I'm sitting in front of my 9 computer screens all day. I'm getting lots of emails on a daily basis that I don't get here. So it's definitely a bit of an issue for me when I'm out here in the woods. And even if I wasn't out here in the woods, I will definitely take you up on that help for Pass support, because it is a challenge servicing people in so many time zones and trying to get to them quickly enough that they don't lose steam on whatever they're working on. So what I'll do, Ria, is I'll expose some of the tools that I use for resetting people's passwords, and I'll show you how I get into the MySQL database. It's a very simple database. I'll share the table structure with you and show you what I'm doing. And I would really appreciate any help in that department, just because I don't like to leave people hanging, but I know people are not able to get me as quickly as they'd like.
No, no problem. Thank you. I would be happy to help you with that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So that's good. Anybody else want to raise anything to Michael before we let him go back to probably a much more peaceful activity than Asgardia? Right, thank you. It's great that you're here. So the action step will be, are you going to talk with John and Ria? Because what I really want to do is get a conclusion here where the system works. We just have one system, and it might just be worth, whenever you finish the nice thing you're doing there in the forest, in the wilderness, that you, John, and Ria maybe particularly have a discussion perhaps with Ricky. Would that be the action step? I want to just make sure we don't have to return to this here.
Well, I have the items that they've mentioned. The long pole in the tent here is getting integrated with Google's, because that takes away a huge, not doing our own encryption takes a huge weight off our shoulders in terms of the technology that we use to do the encryption. We don't have to worry about people breaking into our database by violating the encryption that way. The security of the accounts becomes, we put the onus of that on Google, essentially. And so that's a huge, huge thing. And then 50% of the support calls that Rhea and I are talking about supporting, those disappear because resetting someone's Google credentials is not a pass support something. That's something they would go through Google for. And then we could have 2FA and MFA and all that. I mean, not only does it improve our security, but it reduces our support model, and that's the biggest thing. So if we can just get OAuth 2 working, or whatever Google's preferred method of authentication integration is now, that would be massive. And I know Ben and Rhea have done that on some of their sites, so I'm hoping maybe I can tap their brains and figure out what I'm doing wrong, because I've tried to do it with Pass, and I'm not getting the token. I'm able to do the Google authentication, but they give you a token back that is not working for us in the Pass system. So if we can figure that out, that will improve our own security with Pass, reduce our support model, and make things easier for people to access the system, which is the main concern. And then the other improvements, like the help page that we can access without a login, that's really straightforward. That's just HTML, no login required. I can build that with John, and I'll take a look at what John was talking about with the trade site and the things that they have, and we'll build something similar for Pass, and that's not complicated.
John.
Yeah, I just want to tell Michael your Starlink connection is phenomenal. You're coming in really loud and clear. Your picture is really crystal clear. It's good to see Starlink in action. I think this is the first time I've ever seen anybody on one of these platforms. It's actually been on Starlink. So, yeah.
Well, I'm in the middle of the Ozarks in Missouri, and the stars are so clear here at night. You can see the Starlink constellations because they're very particular, because there'll be 6 or 7 of them in a row moving in a perfect line. Most satellites are out here just one, but the Starlink ones you'll see a whole line of satellites moving overhead, and you can see my router pointing at them. So it's kind of neat to be able to see that out here.
What's upload speed are you getting?
I haven't tested it since we originally set it up. I think it was around 20.
Pretty good.
20 megabits per second or something.
Very good. It's very, very good.
It's the RV Starlink package. It's not the residential.
That's expensive, but obviously worth it. So yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks for Michael for joining us today. Any other business for Michael before we go to any other business? Great to see. I wish I was there.
Wish you were all here.
I'm in an overpopulated part of Britain, and you're in one of the great wildernesses of the world. Thank you so much. Have a great and peaceful rest of the day. Thank you very much indeed. Really great to see you.
All right, take care.
That's it. That was very helpful. Thank you so much to Michael Torino. That was really worthwhile. So we know the action steps there. What we'll do then is follow those action steps, and I hope by Thursday, well, let's give him time to get home. Next week, maybe we'll have a clarity of purpose and hopefully make the pass system work. So thank you for that. That really was worthwhile. Let me go back to the agenda. The really only other thing to do is any other business. Is anything else? Michael's, geez, he's still with us. Still with us. Any other business that anybody wants to raise? My guess was actually just almost exactly right. I said up to 2 hours will be just a couple of minutes over, but that's good. Anything else? Okay, thanks everybody. I've got my action steps here. Ricky, I've got the notes from you as well, which I printed out. I've got my instructions, which I wrote down as well. And Ria, I'll work on the copyright and contracts and send them back for your consideration. But my intention will be to share those with the head of nation when I see him. Also, for those involved in the foreign affairs work, please do have a look at the massively extended document now, which I've worked on. It's taken a long time because I had to learn a lot myself about diplomacy. I knew I had to do it because it was not fair to expect other people to do it. And I've got my list. I won't repeat the whole list of things I'm doing because I've got them here. But I will make sure that I put a file note out after this about the things I'm going to do. Okay, final call for any other business. Okay, looking ahead then. Oh, John and then Ricky.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I have done an initial scan of the Foreign Affairs Act, and I really like the adjustments that you made. They're very logical, very a lot of foresight went into that. So yeah, I'm very pleased with what I've read so far. But and now when you said that you needed all acts that are going to go for the next digital city. Are you talking about like second reading, third readings too?
Yeah, everything, because I want to show it all to head of nation while I'm there.
Okay, because I got a third reading coming up on Consumer Protection Act. So
yeah, please do see if you can get that by Wednesday.
Okay, okay.
And Ricky?
Yeah, just as since we're getting ready to close here, if anyone's interested, on YouTube, the Angry Astronaut, who has he follows quite a lot of the what's going on in space industry, SpaceX, the British and ESA, and that. I'm going to go there after this and see his new blog on supposedly they found life on Mars. It flashed across my screen here, so that might be interesting.
When is that?
Huh? The Angry Astronaut on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you, the Angry Astronaut. Anger's a bad thing in space, I think, but there we go. Fine. Thank you, Ricky. Angry Astronaut. I just don't really have the angry software. Very rarely angry. Thank you, everyone. I think we've finished now. Hello, Bridget. Good to see you. I think that we will finish there. If you want to join Asgardia, go to Asgardia Space Nation. Very easy. It will cost 100 solars, euros, dollars, pounds to join. And then you're a resident and you can be fully involved in the civic life of Asgardia. You can stand for the Parliament. You can stand to be mayor. You can do everything that any other Asgardian can do. And you'll be able to access the relevant embassy services when we get those as well, and have your ID card. So there's a lot of reason to become an Asgardian resident. For me, just before Ricky came in, this Thursday, we will be meeting at the usual time on the Thursday, which is 1700 UTC for chairs and 1800 UTC for the whole of Parliament. The next week, I'll send you a note, but we'll have to do it earlier or later because I begin my journey to Corfu So we'll either need to, I'll work it out and I'll tell you. We'll need to meet either 3 hours earlier, which is probably the best thing, or later. I suggest we meet earlier for the simple reason that way if the plane is delayed, there's no inconvenience to you. And I'm suggesting then on August the 8th, we meet 1400 UTC for those who can make it. 1300 UTC for the chairs meeting and 1400 UTC for those who are, hang on, that's incorrect. That's incorrect. It'll have to be 1200 UTC for chairs meeting, unless we have that after me, and then 1300 UTC for the parliamentary meeting, because I won't, it'll be risky. I could maybe do it at the normal time, but it's risky. I may not have landed by then, but I'll send you a note about that. Otherwise, next Thursday, let's see what progress we've made. I don't know when Michael Trina's back from the wilderness, but this week and next week, let's try and get that settled down. For those of you, I'll send a note out who have got legislation in the system. Please send me your updated versions by Wednesday. Take the time we've got now to work on that. Ria, I'll look at those 2 documents as soon as I can tomorrow, probably. Maybe today, but probably tomorrow. And I think we made quite a lot of progress. Thank you, everyone, wherever you are. I really appreciate you. And do please join Asgardia, the Space Nation. We got to 27, so when we get to 13, we'll shut this down. Thank you to the team, and thank you to you. And I shall see you on Thursday, but I'll be in touch with those of you with whom I have to interact before then, especially on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And that concludes our session. So Rebecca, you can stop the transmission. And I'm really grateful that